Hashtag how to overcome procrastination. Once and for all, you had a plan. You set the alarm. You told yourself today would be different. And then, you opened your phone, checked the news, scrolled for 20 minutes, made a second cup of coffee, reorganized your desk, and somehow arrived at 3 p.m. with nothing meaningful accomplished. Sound familiar? What you just experienced is not laziness. It is not a character flaw. It is procrastination, one of the most misunderstood and quietly destructive forces in modern human life. And today, we are going to end it. Here is something that might surprise you. Procrastination is not a time management problem. Most people spend years buying planners, downloading productivity apps, and watching tutorials on how to organize their schedules, and none of it works. Why? Because they are treating a symptom while ignoring the disease. Research from Dr. Fuchsia Sirois at the University of Sheffield confirms that procrastination is fundamentally an emotional regulation problem. When a task triggers negative emotions, anxiety, self-doubt, boredom, fear of failure, the brain instinctively seeks relief. That relief comes in the form of avoidance. And avoidance feels good in the short term, which is exactly what makes it so dangerous. Studies show that approximately 20% of adults identify as chronic procrastinators. That number climbs dramatically among college students, where estimates reach as high as 70 to 95%. The American Psychological Association links habitual procrastination to higher levels of stress, lower immune function, worse sleep quality, and significantly reduced life satisfaction. This is not a harmless quirk. This is a pattern that is costing people their health, their careers, and their peace of mind. So why does the human brain do this? The answer lies in a conflict between two competing systems. The limbic system, the ancient, emotional, pleasure-seeking part of your brain, is always looking for immediate comfort and reward. The prefrontal cortex, the logical, planning, future-focused part, understands long-term goals and consequences. When these two systems go to war, the limbic system wins far more often than you think. And in our modern world, filled with social media algorithms designed by billion-dollar companies to capture and hold your attention, the limbic system has never had more ammunition. Understanding this is the first breakthrough. When you procrastinate, you are not weak. You are experiencing a neurological tug-of-war that billions of people lose every single day. But here is the key insight. Once you understand the mechanism, you can interrupt it. And that is exactly what the rest of this video will show you how to do. The first and most powerful strategy for defeating procrastination is something researchers call temptation bundling. The concept was developed by behavioral economist Catherine Milkman at the Wharton School of Business. The idea is simple but devastatingly effective. You pair an activity you want to do with an activity you need to do. Milkman's research found that participants who only listened to their favorite audiobooks while exercising went to the gym 51% more often than those who did not use this strategy. That is not a small improvement. That is a transformation. Think about what this looks like in practice. If you need to work through a difficult report, allow yourself to have your favorite coffee only during that work session. If you need to clean your home, play the podcast you have been saving all week. If you need to tackle a hard creative project, put on music you genuinely love. You are rewiring the emotional association your brain makes with the task. Instead of the task triggering dread, it starts triggering anticipation. The second strategy is the 2-minute rule, popularized by productivity expert David Allen and later refined by James Clear in his best-selling book Atomic Habits. The principle is this: if a task takes less than 2 minutes to complete, do it immediately. Do not add it to a list. Do not schedule it. Do it now. This matters because procrastination gains its power through delay. Every time you say, "I'll do it later," you are building a mental backlog that grows heavier with every item you add. The 2-minute rule creates a habit of immediate action that, over time, fundamentally rewires how your brain responds to tasks. But here is where the rule gets even more powerful. For larger tasks, you use a modified version. You commit to just 2 minutes of starting. Not completing the project. Not making it perfect. Just beginning. Because the research on what psychologists call the Zeigarnik effect shows that the human brain becomes genuinely uncomfortable with unfinished tasks. Once you start something, your mind naturally wants to continue and complete it. Starting is the hardest part. Once you break through the initial resistance, momentum takes over. The third strategy involves something most productivity advice completely ignores: your environment. Stanford psychologist B.J. Fogg spent decades studying human behavior and concluded that environment design is more powerful than willpower in almost every situation. Your surroundings are either making procrastination easier or making focused action easier. Right now, for most people, their environment is actively working against them. Consider this. If your phone is on your desk, visible and within reach, studies from the University of Texas at Austin found that even the mere presence of a smartphone, even face down, even turned off, reduces available cognitive capacity. Your brain is partially occupied with managing the temptation. Now multiply that by every open browser tab, every notification badge, every visual distraction in your workspace. You are trying to focus in an environment engineered to prevent it. The fix is deliberate friction. Make the behaviors you want to avoid harder. Put your phone in another room. Use website blockers like Cold Turkey or Freedom during work sessions. Close every browser tab that is not directly related to your current task. Conversely, make the behaviors you want easier. If you want to read more, leave the book on your pillow. If you want to exercise in the morning, lay your workout clothes out the night before. Every time you reduce friction for a good behavior or add friction for a bad one, you are engineering your success at the environmental level, where it actually matters. The fourth strategy is implementation intentions. This sounds technical, but it is elegantly simple. Psychologist Peter Gollwitzer at New York University found that when people made very specific plans using the format, "When situation X arises, I will do behavior Y," they were 2 to 3 times more likely to follow through than people who simply intended to do the task. The difference is specificity. "I will work on my project this week" is a wish. "I will work on my project at 9 a.m. on Tuesday at my kitchen table for 90 minutes before checking email" is an implementation intention. Your brain treats these two statements completely differently. The specific version creates a mental link between context and action, and when the context appears, the behavior fires almost automatically. The fifth and perhaps most underestimated strategy is self-compassion. This might sound soft, but the science here is unambiguous. Dr. Kristen Neff at the University of Texas has published extensive research showing that people who practice self-compassion after failure and setbacks are more motivated to improve, not less. The conventional wisdom says that being hard on yourself drives performance. The data says the opposite. Harsh self-criticism activates the threat response system in the brain, which shuts down clear thinking and creative problem-solving. Self-compassion, by contrast, creates psychological safety, a mental state where you are willing to take risks, try again, and persist through difficulty. What does this mean in practice? When you procrastinate, and you will, because you are human, do not spiral into self-condemnation. Instead, acknowledge it. Name it. "I procrastinated this morning." Then ask, "What can I do right now to move forward?" This small shift from judgment to curiosity changes everything. Research even shows that students who forgave themselves for procrastinating before their first exam were less likely to procrastinate before their second exam. Compassion is not weakness. It is the foundation of sustainable progress. Now let us bring all of this together into a system you can actually use.